Welcome back to the Alternative Highs podcast, the number one podcast in Southwestern Ontario. Today, I am sitting with a extremely honorable guest. I appreciate you making the time. Not a lot of people have made the time when I've reached out, and you got back to me. Before we get into the heart of the conversation of what's going on, because you're running for the Liberal Party for the MP position for Chatham-Kent and Leamington, and I would just like to know, who is Keith Pickard? Where, what have you been doing? How did you get to this spot? Well, what brought you into it? I know that there's some family ties, but I don't know the story.
Well, okay, so I'm born in Chatham, Ontario, and I raised my family in Leamington. I had multiple businesses in Leamington. I sold a few of them. I have a packaging company right now in Leamington. Supports ag, so fully based on the agriculture industry in Southern Ontario. And in the past, I've done business in Mexico, the U.S., and Canada, so I'm extremely familiar with cross-border trade. So that's kind of my story. And
how old's the family?
So the family connection. So my father was, my mom grew up 500 yards from here.
Oh, yeah?
On King Street. And,
beautiful.
And my father grew up on Harvey Street. So
real close. We're right in the middle.
High school sweethearts.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so that's the family story. I mean, we're from Chatham. My grandfather was a doctor down the street on Wellington, and my father's father worked at the Eaton store in the menswear. So I mean that our roots are pretty deep in Chatham, and then the Leamington area we did manufacturing, corrugated cartons, pressure sensitive labels, and labels for the greenhouse business, and that's grew into a decent sized business. I founded a trucking company in 2007, and grew a trucking company, and my packaging companies in Leamington. We hired about 220 people when I sold the company. Amazing. Doing well. The company is doing well, still running, still operating. So I'm pretty proud of that accomplishment.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what led you to run this term?
Pretty simple story. Tariffs, completely. There's nothing more important than what's going on in the community right now. Yeah. These tariffs are going to devastate, if they come into effect, they will devastate what's happening. And we need local representation within the government. So, I mean, if you can appreciate, and, people say, it's politics, shouldn't work that way. Bottom line is, I'm not going to change the way politics work. You're not going to change the way politics work. No. So, basically, we need a member of parliament in this election that represents the people of Chatham-Kent, Leamington in the governing party. So right now, it looks like Mark Carney's probably, most likely, CBC's given about 85% chance of winning a majority government, 7 or 8% chance of winning a minority government. So we're in the high 90s, mid 90s that Mark Carney will form the next government. Yep. So what we do is we need to have a member of parliament that is sitting with Mark Carney making those decisions. The alternative is having an opposition member of parliament. And an opposition member of parliament's job is to critique the government constantly, all the time. That's their job. But what we need is infrastructure dollars in this community. We need to make sure that those dollars from Ottawa are coming to our riding, not the riding next door, not the riding down the street, not a riding in Toronto. We need those infrastructure dollars right here in Chatham, Kent, and Leamington. So part of the federal government is when they collect your income tax, and they collect all the taxes around the country, it goes into a big bucket, and there's transfer payments made to municipalities, made to the province, made to healthcare, over and over. There's all sorts of priorities. So Chatham-Kent, for instance, is at about a $50 million deficit of funding to the municipality from the federal government. Chatham-Kent, Leamington, needs somebody to stand up and say, we need infrastructure dollars. When it comes to Leamington, same thing. In Leamington, we have the greenhouse industry is smoking hot. It is on fire. These guys are the best innovators I've ever seen in my life. These greenhouse growers have taken a mom and pop, small family farm operations 20, 25 years ago, and they've exploded around the globe. And majority of their products being exported to the United States. Yep. take Peely Island. Peely Island has some issues with shore protection. Peely Island can't afford that shore protection. It's our most southern community in all of Canada. They need those dollars. They need federal dollars to come in and help them. But they need a voice that can work with those people that are decision makers in Ottawa, not critiquing them all the time, but actually being able to put the story forward. Mm-hmm. Take a step back. Let's talk 1993. Yep. So 1993, Ken Field came to my father with this idea of ethanol. We never heard that word in my household. We never talked about ethanol. Okay. Ken came and explained to my father how the ethanol business could transform this area. Corn prices weren't good. He came in with this plan to build the ethanol plant. So when he wanted to build the ethanol plant, he obviously needed federal dollars to make that vision a reality. Mm. He explained the whole concept to my father. My father went and lobbied all the other guys in Parliament that could make those decisions. Ultimately, federal government put in over $30 million into that plant to ensure that plant got built. Success story for Chatham.
That's great.
So right now, I mean, you got the ethanol plant, thousands of jobs when they were building the plant, and there's hundreds of jobs now. Plus, there's an outlet for our farmers. Our corn farmers are obviously shipping their products here. And then we're exporting our ethanol to, distilleries or any process that uses ethanol. So we've made a little industry there in Chatham-Kent. And across the street, Truly Green built a greenhouse using heat from the ethanol plant, supplying another industry. And they employ hundreds of people. So at the end of the day, that $30 million investment in guaranteed loans back in 1993 turned into that whole section of town off Bloomfield Road. I mean, you have a massive greenhouse operation, plus you have a massive ethanol plant. It's a success story. So you need the member of parliament in government to be able to tell those stories, and you need the government to want to invest in your region. So 100%. That's the real key of the reason I'm stepping forward. So, and at the same time, these tariffs are going to have a massive impact on us. So when you look at our region, we're agriculture and we're automotive. Yep. We're workhorses. We are reliable and we make quality products. And like I said before, we have a great workforce and our business owners are extremely innovative. They're not looking for a handout from the government. What they're looking for is support and a hand up. Yep. Two different strategies. So the whole point is when you have somebody in the government being able to lobby for these guys, being able to secure funds, bring them back, we create jobs. When we create jobs, we create a stronger economy. Yep. When we create a stronger economy, we create a better community. And we're protecting our economy, we're protecting our jobs, and we're protecting our families.
I love that. What would be you come in, what would be your first thing you'd want to work at?
I think the first thing is, the idea of community first and understand what the issues are in this community today. Yep. So you got all sorts of business owners that probably are on, a lot of issues with trade, investment, uncertainty. Business does not like uncertainty. At the same time, businesses are what creates our jobs, which creates our economy. So it's kind of a catch-22. So the first thing I would do is set up shop and make sure that every business owner has an opportunity to come and talk to us about the stresses on their businesses right now. Have a conversation and bring other people in as well. Have a conversation of how we can propel their businesses and stabilize anything uncertainty in their businesses because of the trade war. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need is boots on the ground in Chatham-Kent, Leamington to ensure that we continue working, we continue providing jobs, and we continue to grow.
I like that. What about is there, like, in healthcare, in education, how do you step into that zone as well while trying to do all that? Is that something?
No, and that's the one thing. That's the one thing about politics. It's a very small portion of our lives. Like we go about our lives, we don't talk about politics, constantly all day, every day, unless you're in the middle of an election campaign. Mm-hmm. But it consumes a very minute portion of our time. But it right now it's consuming all the oxygen in the room. Mm-hmm. So I think what we do is we need to really focus on, with healthcare, we need to focus on increasing transfer payments to provinces, and we need some better framework. Mm-hmm. We need to make sure healthcare remains public. We can't have a two-tiered system in this country. I think what we've also done is we've gone in and the Liberal Party implemented the dental program, the pharmacare program. It's building blocks. Everybody's going to want everything tomorrow. It can't happen tomorrow, but it's baby steps. And our baby steps have been to support the provinces roll out healthcare. It's been to support some increases in transfer payments. It's been to put out a pharmacare program. It's been to put out a dental care program. So we're getting better at it than maybe it has been in the past, number of years. But I mean, it's little moves forward every year. If 100%. We continue to move forward, I think, we'll be the prize of the world and in social programs. Totally. We can't have a private system in healthcare. And now, healthcare in the United States, and a lot of people say, yes, healthcare in the United States is way better than the healthcare system in Canada. It's only better in the United States when you have money.
I was going to say.
So I had a worker that was injured in the U.S. at one of our operations and brought him to the hospital. The first question wasn't, what's his name? The first question is, how are you paying? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's a completely different system. So Canada spends, 11, 12% of our GDP on healthcare. So gross domestic product, we're spending 11 to 12%. So 11 to 12 cents out of every dollar is being spent on healthcare that's spent in this country. The U.S. is 18.9. So almost 1/5 of the money spent in the U.S. is on healthcare. So that takes away spending from all other social programs that we can offer. Like we're trying to roll out the trades program. So the training program for young people. And I mean, you get it, I get it. Young family, mid-20s, late 20s, couple kids, mom's working a job, dad's working a part-time job plus his full-time job, stuck in a wage structure that isn't going to support his family full-time. But he needs both jobs in order to pay his bills, make sure he's got his rent payment up to date, make sure he's making his car payment, make sure he's putting food on the table, his utilities, making sure his insurance is up to date, hopefully. But there's all these bills, and they're in that catch-22 of what can they do. What we're proposing right now is to give these people $8,000 to go get an apprentice license to better themselves. And at the end of the day, if they go do that, we'll also, when it's time for an employer to hire them, we'll give that employer $10,000 to hire that person. Get them trained up. Get them moved up, not rather give them a handout. So helping up, putting them in a better position. People say, well, why would you invest? Why does a company invest in advertising? To better their business. Why does somebody invest in the bank? Put their money in a bank account? For returns. So by investing this money in humans right now and in the skills that we need in the community, because we definitely need tradespeople in the community,
100%.
By investing in those people, what we can do is propel us into these people into better jobs. So down the road, we've invested in that person to have a better job and contribute more to society. So, I mean, in the way of whether it's, a better job, a better lifestyle, and a better lifestyle is going to contribute to a better community.
100%. I mean, obviously you're running Red. What would be something that your opponents are like hard on? Like, you're doing this wrong. You're not, and that you're getting all the hate. I mean,
There's
I imagine this running right now.
It's crazy.
Because we are, it's been conservative here for.
We're divisive. Politics have become divisive, almost like sports teams, right? So, and it's gone from being everyone always said don't talk about politics with family and friends, et cetera, but it's come down to hatred in the community of the other party.
Separation I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think what's happened is there's so many issues going on. Nobody has the right answer. We've been fighting about these issues forever, and I think it's just people are butting heads, and there's a lot of divisiveness. And I don't use the word fringe derogatory, but what I will say is there are small elements of every party. The majority of people aren't going to go deface a lawn sign. They're not going to text hate online like I get every hour, multiple hate messages every hour. But I think what I've realized is, probably didn't have thick skin before. my skin's thickened in this campaign, and understanding, be able to push it off your back and move forward. But I mean, the biggest thing is the government, the previous government, wasn't listening to the people. And, you know, the opponents did come out and say it. And they built a campaign for the last 2 years based on Axe the Tax and based on Trudeau. And, I mean, we gave them both. We axed the tax. We axed the consumer carbon tax. It's zero. It will be rid as soon as Parliament resumes, as well as we change leaders. We found the best person possible to lead our party. And I think what the Conservatives have come out and said is, you know, like they've come out and kind of threw their campaign in disarray because they were going to run this campaign on two issues, the carbon tax and Trudeau. And Carney is a completely different man, and a resume that's incredible. Like,
It's quite wild how many things he's accomplished.
just one of them would have been nice for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, he born in Northwest Territories, grew up in Alberta, went to Harvard. I mean, that's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
Went to Oxford. That's an accomplishment in itself.
Yeah.
Worked for Goldman Sachs as a senior manager. Another accomplishment. Went on to the Bank of Canada and was governor of the Bank of Canada and governor of the Bank of England, and then went on to Brookfield.
Yeah.
And you look at this guy's career, if there's any question about his ability to do the job, look at his resume.
It's wild with his resume, and it is surprising what people bring from the past into this new person, and they have all those things of why he isn't a leader anymore or why he's not part of the bank.
Listen, if Mark Carney was your friend,
Yep.
not your political opponent, if he was just your friend, the guy that you went for a beer with,
Yep.
and your friend was a senior manager with Goldman Sachs, you'd be pretty proud of that friend, and you'd want all your other friends to know about it.
Yeah.
If your friend got accepted at Harvard, you'd
talking.
be pretty proud of him.
I'm talking.
If your friend went to Oxford, you'd be pretty proud of him. If your friend was in charge of a major fund at Brookfield, making pensioners a lot of money on strategy that's completely fine in Canada, and it's helping every single pension fund. I shouldn't say every. Almost every single pension fund has a chunk of Brookfield, including the leader of the Conservative Party. So you have a man that has a resume that if you had one of those accomplishments on your resume, not the 6 he's got,
Yeah.
but you have one of those accomplishments, you'd be going, wow, that's a cool guy. And I
So
think
fun.
that's what Canadians, the majority of Canadians, look at his resume and go, that's pretty outstanding.
It is so cool. I mean, for far too long, everything has been ran much. I won't use words that I don't understand, but it's got to be ran like a business, correct? More business-like, or is that not a wrong term?
No. I think here is my view on being a liberal.
Yeah.
Being a liberal is being socially involved in your community.
Okay.
Socially being involved in the country, but at the same time being fiscally responsible. And I think those are our cornerstones that were the Liberal Party that attracted my father, and my father brought me into the Liberal Party. And I think those are the same values that bring my kids into the Liberal Party.
Okay.
And I think what we understand is we have to be, when it comes to social issues, we need to support those who are most vulnerable in our community every single day. That is a hallmark of being a liberal. At the same time, what we do is we need to be fiscally responsible. So, I mean, when my father first got elected, the Liberal Party went across, Chrétien had Paul Martin go across the country and talk to Canadians everywhere. They created a red book. They created a plan over the course of years because they weren't in office. They were beat by the Conservatives badly in 1984. And the Liberal Party kind of reinvented itself and said, what are our priorities? What are the priorities for Canadians? And those priorities developed the Red Book. And the Red Book went across the country and they got all the ideas of Canada. They talked to all sorts of stakeholders in the country. They created a plan to balance the budget and focus on social programs and do everything that it meant to be a liberal. They were elected in 1993 on the Red Book policy, and they implemented it. And they rolled that Red Book policy out, and over the course of years, they did balance the budget. They reduced our national debt, and over time, they governments change. And I think right now is we need to go back to those values, and Carney's the right guy. So if you're looking at popularity, Martin didn't end up super well in 2006, and there was a lot of issues for that, but he was very, very fiscally responsible for this country, and he deeply cared about the country. And I think Mark Carney deeply cares about the country, and he has the economic background behind him to move us forward on an economy. But also, he managed the 2008 crisis for the Conservatives. They were the ones who appointed him twice. So Stephen Harper, you've heard Stephen Harper talk about, I had Mark Carney work for me. Yes, he did. And he had Mark Carney, and he kept reappointing him when his term was up. So, Mark Carney's a balance of, obviously with the Conservatives, they understand his credentials, and they went and hired him. And he helped us out of that 2008 crisis. Bank of England came and scooped him up because they were going into a crisis with Brexit. They used him for Brexit, and when they used him for Brexit, he helped that economy through a really tough time. And, he does have his critics on the other side, but ultimately, there was two national crises that Mark Carney got both Canada and England out of, and he's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, for the person who's on the edge,
yeah,
red or blue, what's your final words going into the last weekend before election?
Well, here, so I brought up the example of the way my dad was able to sway the government to make heavy investment in the ethanol plant, which has turned into a project.
I didn't even know that.
So now I'm going to talk about Chatham-Kent Leamington infrastructure dollars from the federal government the last 10 years. It has been, the programs that have been supported have been put forward by the communities or other organizations, municipality, when I say community, they've been put forward. An opposition MP normally doesn't get a lot of funds for their riding in the sense of other announcements. It's politics. And maybe it shouldn't be that way. There's going to be arguments on both sides, but if we take a drive down the 401 and go to Windsor, Tecumseh, Lakeshore, so Eric's the MP there. Eric's attracted $16.2 billion in investment in his riding since the last 6 years.
Yep.
We haven't got anything here in this riding. So, that's a big, stark difference of what a sitting MP on the government side will bring to a riding and what an opposition MP will bring. So this election is really about going back and asking yourself, if you believe Mark Carney, if you believe that CBC and all the other polling companies are in the ballpark, and you are a betting man, you're betting that Carney's going to be the next prime minister. I'm not saying hoping. I'm saying if you are logical and realize Mark Carney is going to be the next prime minister, you want your MP to be part of his party. You want your MP to be able to go to Ottawa, have the conversation, and you want the riding to be rewarded. Some people call it corruption. It's not corruption at all. It's just politics. You take our sitting member. He was the shadow minister for agriculture. He didn't support Poilievre in the leadership campaign. When Poilievre formed his new shadow cabinet, he left our MP out. So our current MP will tell you, well, what I'm saying is corrupt. It's in his own party. It doesn't matter if it's Canadian federal politics on the party level. It doesn't matter if it's just on the government side level. It doesn't matter if it's your local hockey organization. Supporters get rewarded. It's life, it's politics. We say it all the time. So I think that's what people, if you're looking at really what you want you want a member in government to attract those dollars and bring them back. Second thing, I'm a businessman. I look at things a little bit different, and I realize there's opportunity out there with this trade crisis. There's opportunity as well as not just it's going to be a little doomy and gloomy.
Yeah,
but
100%.
we need to reinvent ourselves, and we need to reinvent ourselves quickly. And attracting companies that manufacture equipment for different segments, say the greenhouse industry, attracting some European companies that are building in small companies there, bring them here, give them a springboard to help build products for our greenhouse community, but at the same time, give them a springboard to get outside and show the world, show North America their skills and let them develop companies. And I think if we work on partnerships here, our proximity to the greenhouse industry, we can bring them in. We're going to have a lot of auto people the auto investment is probably not going to come the next couple of years because things have been put on hold with the uncertainty with Trump. Businesses don't like uncertainty. I think what we're going to have there is we have opportunity to build housing, mass housing, factory built housing, quality homes, mass building the housing, constructing them on site. So that's an industry where we have a really good workforce, and we can use our workforce to complete those kind of tasks. And the government's going to put money into housing. So $30 billion into housing, another $8 billion into low-cost interest for developers. We can fix things.
Amazing.
Getting back to it, the money on a sitting MP, and talk about what infrastructure and what the government can do. And I'm not saying a big handout to the community, but the federal government just came in and invested over $35 million into a community in Lakeshore. So that community in Lakeshore, Wallace Woods, got $30+ million, and what it did is help build the infrastructure. That infrastructure under the ground is that developers aren't going to come in and spend that kind of money, or if they are, it's going to be in stages. What they did is they spent that money underground, roadways, everything else, helped the community build it up. There's going to be 13,000 new homes built there.
Wow.
With that infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's just a push. It's here. There you go. Then of that 13,000 homes, you're going to have 2,500 of them are affordable housing, which was part of the program.
Yep.
So I think, the Liberal government has shown over the period of time, from housing to the dental care to the pharmacare, they're here for all of us. And so if you're asking me who you should vote for, I'd tell you vote red, no matter what. But if you're asking why, the reason is the Liberal Party is for the middle class worker.
Yeah.
The Liberal Party is the party that's always been down the line, understanding you got to be fiscally conservative, but you need to be socially liberal.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Hey.
Keith, what a beautiful day.
Hey.
Thanks for coming
Thanks
today.
for having me.
I know you
Appreciate
got a busy
it.
afternoon.
Yes.
Man,
Yep.
what a wild, your next 48 hours,
Yeah.
72 hours. It's going to be wild.
Yeah, it will be.
What's the pressure like right now? You feeling it, or you seem like the calm, cool businessman? Like you've been here before. It's
You know what? It's not. It's the pressure is like you have your good days and your bad days on the campaign trail.
Yeah.
And I think today is a good day. When you get out of the campaign, running for office, although you have people surrounding you, your head goes crazy, and it's a bit of a lonely deal in your head. It's a lot of time it's self-doubting. A lot of time it's worrying about the outcome of the election, worrying about how you're doing in the race. There's not a lot I can control now. So by not controlling it, I think a lot of that stress goes away.
Yeah.
And we'll see the outcome. If the people at Chatham-Kent, Leamington send me to Ottawa, it'll be right to work.
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.